Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Zach, he says he's waiting to be let in. So if you missed it last night or yesterday, the Gators won one of the craziest baseball games I've ever seen. Over the Clemson Tigers advanced to the College World Series. We'll talk about that with JC and Mike Morgan. Celtics go up 2-0. And man, a lot of good stuff to talk about today. I think I'm going to print JC, good morning. You're on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Guess what T-shirts my man Zach said I'm going to print up?
That shirt right there is my favorite one, man. That sign has been hanging over the facade at Florida Field for 50 years.
Well, somebody took the sign to Clemson's ballpark yesterday.
Well, I mean, man, we watched that game after a very tough round of golf yesterday, and when we were in the bar watching it, the whole place was just captivated by Gator baseball. It's probably the first time I've seen that in a long time, and it was just thrilling to watch, and it was thrilling to see Florida respond to that 3-run homer that they hit, and then the most incredible catch I think I've ever seen in my life from the center fielder that stole extra bases from our hitter. And I just think, man, this means Florida is meant to win, and I don't know, dude. I'll just tell you right now, we're going to have the SEC baseball tournament. When Georgia wins today, we're going to have the SEC baseball tournament in Omaha.
No, so here's the deal. I think right now there's
five
SECs and
two ACCs and 5 SECs.
Okay, well then if NC State wins, it's another. So they need to move the tournament to either Atlanta or Nashville this year.
Right. Yeah. It'd be a lot more interesting for folks locally to go watch it. But Omaha is Omaha. We all know it's a great place to go. It's heaven on earth for baseball fans in general. But just so impressed with Florida, man. I got to be honest. I didn't see this coming. But, we did talk about it.
Nobody did. I mean, look, here's the deal. Like I said,
got hot
baseball, softball, and basketball.
Ooh.
Your regular season really doesn't matter. It's all about how you play in the postseason.
Yeah.
And as Tony said, the next T-shirt I may get printed up. Midweek games don't matter because they don't. They do not mean a damn thing.
You are pounding that and pounding that and pounding
that. But JC, it does not matter.
God.
I told you. Well, all it matters is you have young pitchers that you're going to throw about 10 of them out there a year. You see if they can pitch or not, and they get experience. And the other thing that drives me crazy, these damn announcers watching the game.
I know what you're going to say.
Each team has played about 60 games right now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't give a damn if it's a freshman. He ain't a freshman anymore. After like 10, 12 games, you're done. You're done being a freshman. So
this Wilson kid, though, I swear, I'm telling you, this Wilson kid, it's like O'Sullivan pulled out an old shoebox from his closet, opened it up, and found some gold treasure.
He had no choice, JC.
Who the hell is
that? He's a transfer, I believe, from Coastal Carolina.
I know, but we didn't hear from him all year long. QB
because the starter broke his hand.
I know.
So.
But listen, Robertson coming through at the end there was just icing on. I mean, I don't want to be cliched about this, but let's be honest. This reminds me of what Ole Miss pulled through a couple years ago. It does remind me of that. Now, maybe Florida's record wasn't as good as Mississippi's was when they got in, but Mississippi was the last team to make it. I've been harping on this probably too much, but the point is every year is different, and Florida has just pulled it out, man. Now, listen, you got Texas A&M, unbelievable offense. You got Kentucky, great pitching. I mean, they threw a 2-hitter yesterday to win that game against Oregon State. And you've got just a an SEC assortment of teams. We'll have 6 SEC teams when Georgia wins today, QB.
Yeah, that's why I said they need to just move the damn thing to Atlanta or Nashville.
Yeah.
31 and Bear wants to know where I got my Fun and Gun shirt. Just email the program. My company prints those up. So, yeah, that's what my LLC is called, Fun and Gun. It's been like that for about 20 years.
You ran the camp through that LLC.
Yeah, I wanted to. I will talk more with Mike Morgan about it, but
I love Mike Morgan.
if you gotta, if you haven't seen it, you gotta Google Tony Vitello. Presser yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
I thought it was outstanding. He went on. He rambled. He rambled and raised hell for about 7 minutes.
He raised hell about what?
Well, because they got ousted as the #1 team. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So all these people, the fan base, the press talks about, they basically went into the game yesterday, game 3, and I guess after game 2, they were asking him questions. Would you consider the season a success if y'all don't make it to Omaha? Well, he basically didn't. He just did not comment on it, but he raised hell about it yesterday after they won. I thought it was great. Go Google it. All right, we got a bunch of tech. We got a bunch of stuff to get to here. But the play that the kid hits the 3-run homer, the little center fielder to tie it up in the ninth, and then he makes that kick. I do not care what anybody says with me. I was not alive when Willie Mays made the catch. I don't know if Willie Mays saved a game. I don't know if it was in the World Series, but that was the greatest athletic play I have ever seen in my lifetime. Because Willie Mays we've seen pictures of it. It was a great catch. But this damn kid had to go up a hill and run into a wall.
Ran into the fence. He's also known to jump high and steal home runs from the top of the fence there at Clemson. Now, maybe that
fence, JC, you do know that they have an incline.
It's not that high. Yeah, it's
so you at 5'6" could probably jump off the incline.
5'8.5" QB, 5'8.5", about to lose about 30 pounds. Thank you very much.
All right,
but anyhow, it was unbelievable. The postseason in baseball has to be, if you just love sports. I mean, it doesn't matter who your favorite team is. If you love sports, watching college baseball's postseason is right up there with the Masters for me, dude. I mean, it is so much fun. I was captivated just watching Kentucky last night before I fell asleep. Yeah. And Tennessee and A&M. A&M fell behind to Oregon in both games by 4 or 5 runs, and nobody cared. The line on Hard Rock didn't move. They were still favored down 5 runs. You know why? Because those guys hit the ball as well as any college team you'll ever see. Texas A&M, unbelievable offense. Schlossnagel. So anyhow, I think you've got everything you could ask for in this college baseball World Series, with a Cinderella story in Gainesville, a juggernaut on offense in College Station, unreal pitching in Kentucky, good all over, just fundamental baseball in Knoxville, Tennessee. You've got it all. North Carolina they never die. I mean, they pull out games in the night.
Best uniforms in baseball. Boy,
best uniforms in baseball. When they wear those pinstripes, dear Lord, I just got to buy something like that. I want it, but I don't care about North Carolina. But if I did, I'd have that everywhere in the house. The wife would hate it because I'd have sky blue crap everywhere. It is unbelievable. And I think who is the SEC team I'm leaving out? Tennessee, Florida, A&M, Kentucky, and I'm leaving someone out. But it doesn't matter.
Georgia hasn't played. They have to play today.
Georgia. But there's 6. So they would make 6. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So there's I thought the umpiring was terrible in the game. Throwing that kid out when he ran into Cags was ridiculous. I don't know why the head coach and the old Coach Leggett got thrown out, and they didn't throw the kid out that spiked the bat after his home run. But Gainesville 1001 on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Diplomacies. I thought it was funny, after the Clemson coach was ejected, a lady came out to the umpire. It was almost as if mommy came out to argue for her kid. That person was working for the ESPN. Had a lot of issues with their broadcast, but she works for ESPN. They have women in the dugout, so when the coach goes to do the in-game interviews. So she was trying to find out from the umpire what the reasoning was while this person was thrown out and all that stuff. So what had nothing to do with the Clemson person.
Okay, QB, obviously I'm a moron. You can't have 6 SEC teams and 2 ACC teams when there are 4 ACC teams potentially and 4 SEC. Why did I think 6? What the hell is wrong with me?
I don't know. There's only 8 people that go.
Well, it could be 5 SEC teams and 3 ACC, but Florida State, Virginia, North Carolina, and potentially NC State. Okay, so it comes down to Georgia and NC State. We'll have 4 ACC.
It's either going to be 4 and 4 or 5 and 3.
5 and 3. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know where I'm getting the 6. My bad.
Yeah, and got to give a shout out to Mouse Holloway, who wins his 3rd straight NCAA championship, men's championship, and about I think it's number 16. I can't keep up, but
he's the most automatic. He's the most automatic NCAA champion before.
Well, here's what's funny is
history of Florida.
He specifically, JC, and he's talked about it on this program, and we'll get him over the summer.
You should.
But he specifically does not care about the SEC championship.
Right.
A lot of times he just does not care. They set it up for them to have a chance to win the national title. And the women, boy, they just missed out. If Arkansas had not had 4 girls running in the 400 meters and they went 1, 2, and 3, that gave them like 28 points and catapulted ahead of the Gators. But Parker Valby, 5 national championships in 1 year. She's the most decorated female athlete we'll probably ever have at this school.
She's the most dominant NCAA athlete. I mean, when you think about, okay, what one person has done more than, say, others, how can you? I mean, they have so many events and so many titles to win. It's that way in track and field, but she does it, and she
has a whole nother year, but she's going to go pro.
Oh, she's got to go get the money, girl, and go to the Olympics and do all that.
Well, I don't understand all the Olympic stuff, but she was not on Olympic pace or something. I can't remember what they said, but it's hard to believe that she's not good enough to go to the Olympics.
Very hard to believe.
All right. Daryl says on the Titanmore text line, good morning, guys. Now the Debbie Downers and the negative Nellies and the ones that wanted to fire Sully will get back on the bandwagon. I love it when they hate to eat crow.
I'm not worried about it. Look, Gator fans and fans of all teams always have. This, my friend keeps trying to call me at 10 after the hour, knowing that I'm on a podcast. There's always going to be a fan in the fan base. There's always going to be fans in any fan base, QB, that are always just, negative or get angry about it. But it just means they care, QB. Let me tell you something. If we didn't have fans who were complaining about something, then we wouldn't have anything, right? Because without fans, you don't have sports. And so what? You get some fans who complain about, big deal. Who cares? Look, it's okay. If they didn't care, they wouldn't complain. I'm not worried about fans. I'm not worried about people complaining about coaches and all this and that. We all know that there's always going to be something that pisses you off, and that's fine. If it didn't piss you off, you wouldn't care. And if you don't care, then you wouldn't have anything to watch. So I'm okay with it. The bottom line is
the only thing that I think is ridiculous, how people get so worked up over that we lose to Stetson or JU. Who cares? Because that means absolutely nothing. And then the only thing that matters in the grand scheme of things is Sully's career coaching record. Yes, he wants to win them, but he's not going to put the team at any harm trying to win a midweek game. Chris from Cottondale.
Okay, Chris.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say before you read Chris, it's funny how in college they are the head coach and in the pros they are the manager. But really, they're all managers because what O'Sullivan does is that he manages this team through the 5 months that they have to play before they get to the postseason while he's coaching them. Okay, does that make sense? So really, it's a manager coach or a coach manager. I think it's funny how they call them 2 different things in pro and college, but they're all the same. We all know it is. Go ahead. What did Chris say from Cottondale?
Chris from Cottondale on the Titanmore text line says, maybe after a good basketball season, a great softball and baseball season, another championship than track. Most of all, since Saban has retired, JC can put away his houndstooth hat and put on a visor and come back home to the Gators.
I mean, what the hell? Look, Chris, there he is, man. That's the most iconic logo we have at the University of Florida. I was wearing this dude back in '71 when I went to my first Florida game at the ripe old age of 7 years old when you were 1 QB. So I saw John Brantley play quarterback for the Fighting Gators. I was there when the walls were blue and not orange. I'm with you, Chris. I went to graduate school at UF. I've got Florida blood in me. My whole family went to Florida, but I did go to Alabama. Roll Tide. Now, you know, I don't know. I got this thing about the baseball team though. When I went to watch the Gators play baseball back in the day, they had a hill in left field. It was a slope that went up. It was like
that's what Clemson has around their whole damn baseball field.
It's crazy. It's the slope in left field. It was called Perry Field, and we had wooden bleachers there, and they were blue. And you talk about hot, man. But I loved going to the baseball games. It was one of my favorite things to do. And I played my district championships for Buchholz High School at Perry Field, QB, just so you know that.
All right. This is a text from someone in the 786 area code. So they love Cag's passion for the game, but as the team's MVP and in a game where you are starting pitcher along with being just one win away from the World Series, you have to do a better job of keeping your emotions in check. Prior to the scuffle, he was in a nice rhythm pitching and just belted a 2-run bomb. I think the long delay rattled him a bit in the dugout as he waited to find out if he was going to be ejected. Those 20 minutes during the delay probably felt more like 2 hours to him, waiting to find out the umpire's ruling, which could have possibly cost his team a trip to the College World Series. Your thoughts? I didn't see Cags doing one thing wrong. Look, in my opinion, I don't think Cags is a great pitcher. He's wild.
Right. He's going to be a
hitter. I mean, look.
Yeah.
He's
going to be a hitter. He's going to be a hitter, QB. He's going to be a hitter.
But my thoughts are that had nothing to do with the way he pitched. They're competitors, man. They're competitors.
Yeah, they're competitors, and I'm really happy that in his last year at Florida, he is experiencing his best year and his most fun year here in the postseason. We were worried that he wouldn't even get a chance to play in the postseason at one point there toward the end of the year because we were not thinking they were even maybe going to make it. But they won 2 out of 3 games at Georgia, and when you go back and look at this season, that's where you're going to point your finger as the turning point to get this team back on the right track. Winning 2 out of 3 in Athens was absolutely key. And I love what
they had to, or they wouldn't have made the tournament.
Right. And I love what Big Red said when you had Big Red on here the other day, Cardozo. He's absolutely right about sometimes when you see these other teams that you play in the postseason, because you played in the SEC and because you played these great teams all damn year long, it gives you an advantage against teams that don't see pitching like this or don't play teams as good as what you saw in the SEC. And it gives you that advantage because you show up at a place and it's like no big deal at Oklahoma State. My God. I mean, they're 3 seed, but these guys don't pitch the ball like Arkansas. They don't play like LSU. They don't play like Kentucky, you know, and that gives you that advantage. And Florida had a good run against some great teams in the SEC. They did. The Texas A&M series. You know, they could have won.
The Aggies. We got to face the Aggies in Omaha now.
And they could have easily won 3 against Kentucky, right? So, I mean, a bad hop here, a bad bounce there, and Gators are winning that series. So this is something that Florida is not overwhelmed by when they travel to a place like Stillwater or Clemson. They just respond because they've had it going on for 5 months, man. And I think Big Red nailed it. Right. So I'm giving Big Red credit for that. And he should have credit because he's been watching this team for 5 months now, and that's his job. So
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A couple things before we get out of here. Scottie Scheffler wins another golf tournament. JC picked Scottie.
I like picking winners. Hey, QB, I like picking winners. What do you pick?
Yeah.
You just go. You just throw.
Well, my guy Ludwig Oakberg came in third.
Great golfer. Great golfer.
Yeah, he played well.
But I like picking the winners, QB. I like picking the winners. He's probably
I let you have him, by the way.
You know, he shot 2 over yesterday, QB, and he had such a pad that it didn't hurt him. But that has to be one of the hardest golf courses that's not called a major on that circuit. There is no question that 18th hole at Memorial the way Jack does his golf courses, he's a hard designer, man. He allows you to drive the ball anywhere, but those iron shots into greens have to be accurate when you play a Jack Nicklaus course, as you know, QB. So that was a great win for him. I think he liked winning that one as much as any other tournament he's maybe won this year, other than the Masters, right? He probably loved winning that one as much. And by the way, since we're talking about this guy, Scheffler, he is the first player on tour since Justin Thomas, Alabama guy, in 2016, 2017 to win 5 in a season at this point, QB. And Tiger Woods and VJ were the other two that since 1950 won more than 5, with both of them winning 9 in 2000 and 2004 respectively. So this is a great year this guy's having, man. It's a great year. He's probably going to win one of these next 2 majors, and you just got to mark it up for a career year for Scott Scheffler. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. My God.
Yeah. All right.
I mean,
so
that's obvious, I guess.
We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line for Jimmy. He says, QB, next week, how many fans on your program will be calling and raising hell if we go 2 in a barbecue? Look, I don't care if they lose both games. Really don't. I mean, think about it. I do. I mean, but look, here's the thing. You have an opportunity to go win a national title. Does anybody think we're going to win it? Probably not. Nobody thought we'd be there. They can play loose, but I can guarantee you this text line, the YouTube deal, and the Facebook Live deal will have people raising hell, questioning what Sully's doing in Omaha.
Well, like I said 10 minutes ago, QB, if they didn't complain, they probably don't care. I'd rather have fans that care than don't. And I don't worry about complaining. It doesn't matter to me. It's not affecting the game. It doesn't really affect how I think. I listen to it, but who cares, dude? I mean, you worry about these fans so damn much.
I worry.
Yeah,
you think I give 2 craps about what these people think?
Because you always talk about these fans.
Because JC, it's a program. It's a program. I read what they say. I do not give 1 crap what their opinion is, though. That's the thing. Is because I've said it multiple times, and I will stand on the top of the mountain that midweek games don't mean one damn thing in college baseball.
There you go.
Or
there
softball.
You go, beating that donkey dead.
But it's a fact. It's a fact.
All right, QB.
We have the number 1 strength of schedule, and it ain't because we're losing to Stetson and FAU and FIU and UAB or whoever else. It does not matter.
The conference they play in is the best in baseball. Now, I mean, ACC is right there, I guess you could say. But we'll see.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense, right? I mean, regionally, you talk about warm weather, you expect teams that play year-round to be better than those that don't. I mean, right, QB? UConn, give them all the credit in the world. They don't know what they ran into in Tallahassee that first game, but to their credit, they made it a very entertaining second game. But UConn isn't going to go to the College World Series. I mean, they're just not. So,
well, you've had some weird teams go there in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, Stony Brook went a couple years ago. Yeah, Colston, Carolina won it.
Well, Coastal Carolina is in South Carolina, so that's okay. But QB, since you mentioned Florida State, let me tell you this: you're talking about. I just got to say this before you kick me out and get Mike on here. You're saying all year long or all summer long that Florida State's not going to be anything to get excited about football this year. Let me just throw this at you. The Seminoles, Georgia Tech, Boston College.
Well, they play nobody. Memphis, we know that.
Cal, SMU, Duke, Charleston Southern, Notre Dame on the road, at Miami. Ooh. And then Clemson at home. My God. Yeah, they're going to win 9 games. They're absolutely going to win 9 games.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to be very good. I don't think they're going to beat Clemson. And do they play NC State and Louisville?
They do not.
Okay, because those 2 teams are pretty good little ACC teams. So
yeah, NC State's physical. I agree with that. Yeah, Louisville too. They could score, but that's a hell of an easy schedule if you compare it to other teams, like maybe the one here.
Look. Here's the new thing I'm going to start talking about on this program. Okay. I don't give 2 craps about the schedule, people. Okay. Y'all been bitching for 24 years, okay, or longer. Embrace it. Embrace the schedule.
No, I'm not talking about Florida schedule here. I'm just comparing it.
You just were getting ready to say that.
Well, George, I'm going to do it again. Georgia Tech, Boston College, Memphis, and Cal. I mean, SMU at Duke. Woo! Watch out. Wallace Wade Stadium's going to be rocking. I mean, good Lord. It's okay.
All right, JC, we got to go.
Buy season tickets for that anyway. All right, say hi to Mike Morgan, and listen, I'm excited, man. We'll talk about it Wednesday.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick time out. We'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's next private label whiskey release party is Friday, June 14th. Celebrate National Bourbon Day with us as we launch our new Buffalo Trace Single Barrel Select Bourbon. Mingle at Visor's Rooftop for the release of Spurrier's fourth private label. Enjoy a bourbon-inspired menu, specialty drinks, raffles, and each ticket includes your own Steve Spurrier autographed bottle of Spurrier's Buffalo Trace Bourbon to take home. Go to Spurriers.com to get your ticket today. Must be 21 or older.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're going to go back to the Titan More Hotline here in just a second, and Mike is trying to connect with us. Let me get to some of these. I haven't read some of these over here. Jeff says if the Gators had lost 2 more midweek games, they wouldn't even made the field. So every game does mean something. Well, what if they would have won a couple of extra SEC games, Jeff? My point to the story is you're pitching guys in midweek games to see if they're worthy of playing Division I baseball. Okay. You cannot do that during the Southeastern Conference schedule. Every team does that. If you win some, great. If you lose them, who cares? Mike is still trying to connect. I may just give Mike my, he always has internet issues. So we may just tell him to call in. Let me find the call-in number. So nobody will convince me ever that they mean anything. All right. Do we have Mike yet? Not yet. All right. I'm trying to. Hang on, folks.
I'm here.
All right. Mike's here. He's got his Carolina background.
I do.
Yes, indeed. Mike, how we doing, my man? You're on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. What's going on?
I'm good, Shane. A lot's going on, man. Good Lord. I made the comment. I don't even know if I posted or not, but I said that this game has gone completely drunk. I mean, I've done a lot of games and a lot of super regionals and just watching most of it. I didn't see all 5+ hours, but that's one of the nuttiest things I've ever seen. It really is, and it's certainly a tribute to uh, Sully's group, and they clearly. You guys were. I was listening to you and JC and talking about what the announcing crew was mentioning, and I've talked about it on your show as well. When you're an SEC team and you get into a bracket first as a 3 seed, nobody wants to see you. I guarantee you, Oklahoma State said, "Oh bleep, we got to play them dudes," and Florida emerges, and I promise you, Clemson, a really good program over the years, but has not been to Omaha, surprisingly enough, since 2010, right? And so I think they looked at Florida and said, "Oh crap, why are we having to play an SEC team, as particularly one that is catching fire at the right time?" And it's a solely. And I've got to say this just to start off the segment. How many times did I come on this? I come on your show every week, and I love it, and I love your audience and your fan base. But how many times did I have to respond to, "Oh, Sully should be on the hot seat"? I mean, and what was my response to that, Shane? That is galactically stupid. I mean, just beyond stupid to insinuate that O'Sullivan should be on any hot seat. This dude is one of the best coaches in college baseball, and I'm sorry he can't get to Omaha every year, and I'm sorry he's only got one national title, but that was just crazy talk. And he's done a remarkable job turning it on in this postseason. Then you've got all these crazy stories about, you got one kid right now who's lighting it up who barely played all season long, and now because of injuries, he's got to get in there. And Cags is Cags, and they're just an incredible story. And I have to just say one more thing on my preamble, Shane, and I promise I will yield the microphone to you right after this. To have a former fired coach in your dugout being part of an ejection and delay, which I actually think helped Florida, that has got to be just next level embarrassing. I'm sorry. And I did a lot of Clemson games in my time when Leggett was the coach. He's always been a fiery guy, but bro, know your role. Stay in your lane. You are you're not in the game anymore. Somehow you're in the dugout and you get ejected and a 2-game suspension, and then that forces remember now, Leggett is the mentor of Bakich.
Right.
So now Bakich feels like, well, I got to support my guy. He's almost like my dad over here. So he gets ejected. The player who slammed the bat and pimped the home run, who could have gotten ejected for that by rule, he did not get ejected. He got warned. Yeah. All of that, it just, like I said, the game got drunk. But that to me was embarrassing. And if I'm a Clemson fan, I'm like, what the hell are we doing right now?
Did they fire Leggett, or did he just resign? Because
no. Oh no, they fired him. They the athletic director was Dan Radakovich, who's now the AD at Miami. He fired Jack Leggett. They started going south, and quite frankly, Shane, you know how this is. It's one thing if you start going in the wrong direction and you're losing more than you used to, but when it's your in-state rival that's all of a sudden taking the prize, now your fan base is really worked up. So it'd be the equivalent if Florida State just started going to they went to a bunch of Omahas, but they could never win it. Well, Ray Tanner takes South Carolina to a bunch of Omahas and wins 2 national championships and beats Clemson in Omaha twice en route to their first title. That did just send Clemson fans into a complete tizzy, and they eventually wanted him gone. The AD fired him. They hired Monty Lee. He got fired, and so now they're on Bakich, who's a former Leggett assistant. But Clemson fans have they're wondering, how is it we've gone 14 years without Omaha, and then you have Jack Leggett in the dugout? I'm not exactly sure what his role is, man. It's like,
I mean, he was in the baseball pants and everything. He had a uniform on.
Yes, and I mean, look, I have all the respect in the world for the job that Jack did during his time as the coach, but you are not the coach anymore. I've never seen anything like it. It was next level bizarre that he's even in there, and he's spearheading a 2-coach ejection in the biggest part of the season. I don't know how you explain that.
Yeah, that whole game was, as you said, drunk. Brian on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law, says, I get that midweek games have no value when it comes to the overall record, but what value are they at?
Are we
Curious
still
to know
back
your
on the
thoughts
midweek
of the
games?
midweek. Well, because I've been talking about it. I was joking around. I was going to get some T-shirts printed up. Midweek games don't matter. Because and people are talking about here, if we would have won a couple of more midweek games, we wouldn't have been on the bubble. That is true, but explain to people midweek games are to figure out what pitching depth you have and what kids can and cannot pitch at this level. Everything else is the same. Your lineup is going to be the same on Tuesday nights or Wednesdays, whenever the games are played, but the dudes on the bump are going to be different. And you cannot at any cost pitch the guys that are going to be pitching on the weekend in SEC play to try to win a stupid game against JU.
Yeah, and the other thing is, what I got into this with a couple of people who insisted. I mean, I thought the team that really got in the field that shouldn't have been in there was Coastal Carolina. Their athletic director just happened to be the head of the committee. And so Coastal Carolina was an average team in an average league. Florida was one of 5, 13, and 17 teams in the SEC that all had, obviously flaws. But Florida, by far and away, played the number one strength of schedule. Well, who cares about the strength of schedule? Well, that's why you're losing a lot of midweek games, because they take on not just Florida State, Miami, but those quote-unquote little schools in the state of Florida can all play ball. There's no there's no comparison to those games versus what LSU is playing in the midweek when they're taking on McNeese State and Louisiana Tech and Southern. Right. I mean, it's just a different deal. So, look, the midweek games, obviously they count. And yes, the listener is right. By losing a lot of those, it's the difference between sweating out a bid or possibly hosting versus not hosting, or possibly having a top 8 national seed or not having one. In this particular case, you're 13 and 17 in the SEC anyway. So Florida probably wasn't going to host anything. They had to work their rear end off just to get in. And at the end of the day, Shane, your point is the right point. The 30 conference games, like if we are doing a measuring cup test here, it is way. This is for your YouTube and video viewers. My hand is at the top of the screen. I hope that's the 30 conference games. These way down here, those are your midweek games. It's a night and day difference, the importance of them. And the 30 SEC games, that's what gets you ready for the postseason. It ain't taking on JU on a Tuesday night.
Yep, there's no doubt. Mike, I got to ask you, you've been watching sports, covering sports, broadcasting sports for many, many years. The play the kid made for Clemson, I said it's the greatest athletic play I've ever seen. Ever. Now, and I know that people compared it to Willie Mays' catch. I was not around when Willie Mays made that catch. I don't know when he made that catch. I don't know if it was to save a World Series or what.
It wasn't.
But that to me, going up an incline, running into the fence and holding on to it was just the greatest thing. And Sully, I text Sully after the game. He goes, that play just put a dagger in my heart.
That is, again, as someone who's been around college baseball for a long time, it's the most clutch catch I've ever seen, period. Now, I've seen highlights of catches and diving catches and whatnot that are spectacular. And I don't want to be prisoner of the moment saying this is better than that and that's better than this. But you got to remember the season was on the line. If he doesn't come up with that catch, the game is over. The season's over for Clemson, and the Gators have already clinched Omaha. When you consider all that, if you watch the play, so much. I worked years and years with the Braves with a guy named Brian Jordan, who was a terrific outfielder, not to mention a great football player for the Falcons. And he would always talk about the most important thing for an outfielder is the jump, right? Getting that jump. So he's playing shallow because there might be a play at the plate. So you got to take this whole play into consideration. He's playing shallow. He immediately does what an outfielder has to do. You got to sprint on a ball like that. Again, your season's on the line. He turns over the wrong shoulder. Shane, it's not unlike a wide receiver. If you lob one up there on a streaking wide receiver, he turns over the wrong shoulder and then goes, oh, blank, now I got to turn over the other shoulder. That's what Canarella did. So there's the first. You got the challenge of just catching up to the ball, playing shallow. You're turning over the wrong shoulder and then having to adjust mid-play. You got no warning track. You got an inclined hill. You're leaping. Willie Mays was on his feet. And you are making the basket catch mid-air, going up against the fence with your season on the line. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, not at all. So we're set for the World Series, except today Georgia NC State play. So we're either going to have 5 SEC teams and 3 ACC, or 4 and 4. I was joking around with JC. Can we just move this thing to either Nashville or Atlanta?
Yeah, right. Nashville, Atlanta. I don't know. I mean, the SEC footprint has expanded. You want to put it in Austin for a year, or maybe like Dallas, Fort Worth. Put it in Jerry World, and turn a baseball field into a dome. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, look, this is what I've seen happen. I went to Omaha calling games on radio 02, 03, 04, and back then, I mean, the SEC's been the dominant dog for decades, but not to this extreme. There used to always be that big West school, a Cal State Fullerton, a Cal Santa Barbara, that always a Stanford from the Pac. And of course, Oregon State won 3 national titles. You'd always have West Coast representation in Omaha. And then Big 12 schools, you'd have a chance of getting some more Big 12, not just Oklahoma, Texas, but some other programs from that league. TCU had their great run there for a while under Schlossnagle. But we're at the point now, the Pac is gone. The Big Ten has gotten better. Michigan was a great story a few years ago. But for the most part, this is still a regional sport. And I know the people that run it hate that fact. They want to see more representation. It's just like the people that run college football. They don't want to see the SEC win it every year. They don't want to see every champion coming from either Clemson or the SEC. They want to see some geographical balance. But the bottom line is baseball's just better in the Southeast. It just is. And the SEC is so far advanced now. Like in my time, I watched the SEC where Kentucky, who just got its first ever ticket to Omaha, congratulations to Nick Mingione. You'd go do a 3-game series in Kentucky, and you'd be like, okay, sweep would be great. If we have an off weekend, we'll get 2 out of 3, but we ain't losing a series to Kentucky. Vanderbilt was a joke. Now all of these programs, Kentucky's got a beautiful brand new ballpark, just like Florida does. Vanderbilt's won 2 national titles. Like all these programs have put an emphasis on baseball. So I don't see this changing. And if the ACC does what many people think it will, which is completely dismantle, well, now the SEC is going to pick up 2 more baseball programs in all likelihood, like a Virginia or North Carolina, or if you believe it's going to be Florida State Clemson, I happen to not believe that, then you're just going to be even more of the big dog in town.
Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies, our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. We got Mike Morgan on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. He's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Switching gears here, we'll get back to baseball on the Titan More text line. This is from George. He says, Mike, what are your thoughts on Caitlin Clark not making the Olympic team?
I mean, you asked me a Caitlin Clark question a couple weeks ago. It's just so obvious, Shane. I mean, it's just so obvious that there are plenty of people in that sport that do not like her. And then you have to ask them to look in the mirror and ask themselves, why is it you don't like her? She's not a dirty player, right? She doesn't cheat, right? So what is it that really bothers you about Caitlin Clark? I saw the members of that committee. They posted them on Twitter. These are all people that know and love the sport of women's basketball. Okay, you got what you wanted. You got what you wanted. You kept her off that. Maybe they'll keep her off an all-star team and keep her. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but it is what it is. I don't even look at it from they just hurt their audience. I mean, they've already done that, but the bottom line is you are supposed to pick the most deserving players. I have no problem with that, but the way she's been playing of late, she looks pretty deserving to me. You're going to tell me she's not one of the top 12, 15 players? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't get it. I don't get it either. Love to Fly on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says you got to love the couch coaches. saying Jack will not be a pitcher in the Major League Baseball. As far as a pitching goes, Jack is a sophomore. Jack will pitch in the major leagues. I don't think he will.
I don't either. And it's not because he's incapable. I think, I mean, even Ohtani, when he gets his shoulder right, I'm not sure if he's ever going to pitch again either, because it's so much to ask a guy to go two ways. Ohtani's the only one that does it now, and he's a freak, and I'm not sure if he's even going to go back. And Cags is going to be such a valuable hitter. They're going to want him to focus on that. So it's not a. I would tell the listener, it's not a personal thing, and it's not an armchair coaching thing. It's not that if Cags spent all his energy on just pitching, yeah, he probably could be a major league pitcher.
But he's too good of a hitter.
He's too good of a hitter, and the way they look at it at the next level, they don't want to deal with a two-way guy who's going to split time. They want you to go all in on. They want you in that batting cage hours every day, and they want you to get as close to an all-star type bat that you can become, and not sacrifice that with also going to the pitching lab every day and working on your arm. I don't see that. I think he's going to be a hitter and a hitter only at the next level.
Reggie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, WNBA is hilarious. Scream at the top of your lungs for more pay. A player gets paid, and now the WNBA roasts the only player that can get you there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a clown show. Yeah, it
I
really
want
is.
a charter flight. I hate
got
the
it
girl
done.
who's getting all the attention, but I want a charter flight.
Yeah.
It's one of these days we're going to look back at this and go, what the hell were they thinking?
I wanted to get I don't know if you saw this. I saw it this morning when I woke up. Did you see Tony Vitello's presser yesterday?
I did not. No.
Okay. All right. You got to go watch it. He was raising hell.
What was he fired up about? I mean, Tony's a fiery guy anyway, but what was he fired up
he
about?
went for like 7 minutes. I thought it was great. It was about, he got really upset apparently after they lost to Evansville in the presser. About somebody asked him, if you don't make it to Omaha, is it going to be the season won't be a success? He didn't answer, and he went back and he talked about what success is to him.
Right.
How hard it is to win baseball games, win regionals, super regionals, get to Omaha.
Right.
But it's pretty good. Go check it out.
Yeah.
I'd like
I
to
love
get your
Tony.
thoughts on that.
The job he's done. People got to remember, Tennessee was irrelevant in college baseball for 15 years. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, like when you and I were in school and it was Delmonico over there, and they had guys like Todd Helton and R.A. Dickey, like they were a power. And they were winning SEC titles here and there, and they were getting Omaha here and there. And then for 15 years, they hired bad coaches who were bad fits. The recruiting dropped off. I'd go there to do a game at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and you'd be lucky if you had like 1,000 people. It was just, it completely hit the skids. And anybody could have had Tony Vitello. He wanted the Missouri job. That's his alma mater. And Max Scherzer, major league pitcher, that's an alum of Missouri, said, if you hire my man Vitello, I'll give you millions of dollars to help that ballpark, which desperately needs it. It is by far and away the worst in the league. And the Missouri administration said, no, we got this. And they hired somebody else. And Vitello winds up getting the job at Tennessee. He was like, at least we know he can recruit. I don't know. And now he's become one of the best coaches in the sport, and Tennessee's become one of the best programs in the sport. So they're an amazing story in themselves, that they actually are not only relevant now, but that's 2 Omahas in the last 3 years. And the year they didn't make it, that they got knocked off by Notre Dame, they were the number 1 seed in the country.
Yeah. Speaking of the World Series, it's pretty much set. But when you look at it right now, Mike, who do you like to come out of there and win the national title?
Well, my picks haven't changed. Going into, but when the field of 64 was set, my 2 picks that I thought had the best chance were Tennessee and A&M. Now, we all know about the number 1 jinx, right? This is unlike any other sport I've ever seen, Shane. The number 1 team, the number 1 overall seed, in this case, it's Tennessee, has not won Omaha since 1999 Miami. Think about that for a minute. In 25 years, the team that's number 1 in the country hasn't won the national championship trophy in a quarter century. No other sport is like that. No other sport. So can Tennessee beat that jinx? I think they have the roster to do it. But I've also loved A&M all year long. I like complete teams. Some people were high on Arkansas. Arkansas can't hit. I don't like a team that can hit but can't pitch. Both those teams are very, very balanced and can do a lot of damage. So those would be my 2 picks.
Yeah, it should be a great one. I mean, gosh, there's so many good teams, as you said, that when you got 4 or 5 teams from the Southeastern Conference, and then the ACC's teams are pretty damn good. North Carolina, I watched a lot of North Carolina just because I like their uniforms.
You in those uniforms.
God, boy, their uniforms are ridiculous. They're ridiculous.
You love the powder blue, huh?
Especially when they wear the old school all powder blue with the
Mhm.
white pinstripes.
Yeah,
I really like that one. I really like that one. Mike, any thoughts on the NBA Finals? I mean, the Celtics, they're not going to sweep this thing, are they?
I don't think so. I think Dallas comes back and wins game 3, but they don't win game 4, it's over. And I mean, they're not. Luka's been phenomenal, but Kyrie has not been Kyrie. And the bottom line is Boston's supporting cast is better than Dallas's supporting cast.
Yeah.
The Methuselah, Al Horford, still getting it done. But Dallas doesn't box out well. They don't defend well. They don't do a lot of things well. It's amazing they've gotten this far in some respects. And again, I love watching Luka, but I think Boston just has a better roster. Brad Stevens is the biggest reason why Boston is going to win a championship if they do, because he put that roster together. He was a great coach in college. He was a good coach in the NBA, and now he's a great GM in the NBA.
Tony on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, wants to know: is there a petition they can sign, or amount of money we can all pay to replace Dave Neal with Mike Morgan?
I'll be careful on that question, but I mean, probably not to answer the question. But no, I mean, for many, many years, Dave's been doing it. I go back to the old CSS days where Dave was doing Fox Sports South and I was doing CSS Sports South, and there was no ESPN doing a lot of games. And it was not uncommon to see regionals on CSS or Fox South because the sport hadn't grown to that point yet. But no, I appreciate that. I watched a lot of that game with the sound down, so I didn't hear everything. I got some comments from people texting me about certain things. I know one thing: Chris Burke, who's the analyst, is outstanding. I'm a big Chris Burke guy. Speaking of Tennessee, I've always been a fan of him. But I know when the controversy hit, from what I'm told, they were scrambling, trying to get an explanation as to who had been ejected. Again, to have 2 coaches ejected over a play that really didn't go against them. The kid just got warned. He didn't get ejected. And if you look at the new, because we do rules calls, if you look at the new rules, you can get ejected for slamming a bat on the ground, especially which he did, especially if it's anywhere near the opposing Help me out on this, Shane. I can't remember. Whose dugout was the first base side dugout?
It was theirs. He slammed it looking at his own dugout. He slammed it down for the home run.
That if that was Florida's dugout, he would have been gone. Instant. Right. I mean, that would have been an automatic. It's if you read the rules, it's so weird. Like the bat flip. If I bat flip it toward my dugout, then I'm probably not going to get ejected. If I bat flip it toward the opponent dugout, automatic. If I bat flip it really high in the air, I could get ejected regardless of what dugout it is. They put an emphasis on this 2 years ago. It's a sportsmanship rule. The kid's lucky he didn't get ejected in the first place. He got warned. But again, why would you have 2 coaches? Remember, if Clemson somehow won that game, both those coaches are suspended for 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts.
They're both suspended for 2 games. It's crazy.
Before we get you out of here, Andy on Facebook Live wants to know: does Dan Hurley take the Lakers job today?
Oh, man. What a question. $100 million is what they're talking, Shane. That's a lot of money. Now, you always got to pass it by happy wife, happy life, right? So you got to pass it by the missus. Is the missus okay with shopping on Rodeo Drive? Or does she have a nice mall to go to in Storrs, Connecticut? I can't even say that with a straight face. Well, California's
JCPenney.
JCPenney at the Walmart Deluxe in Hartford. California's not for everybody. I think this is now more of a because the money's going to be great at UConn too. She's obviously not going to be that great. I think he's a college coach, and he'd prefer to do that. But if their financial package is so overwhelmingly good, like they call it generational wealth, I wish you and I had that in our vocabulary, but these coaches now, many of them do. If you can do that, it's going to be really hard to say no. I think the college game is where he belongs. I think the college game will miss him, and I think there'll be a time when they're on a 7-game road trip, and LeBron is pouting as he always does, and being passive aggressive, blaming everybody else as he always does. He might go, "What the hell did I get into?" And then he'll get that paycheck on Friday, and he'll go, "Oh yeah, that's worth it."
Yeah.
So
Who
I
wins
wouldn't be
today?
surprised.
Who wins today? The Dogs or the Wolfpack?
I'm going to go Georgia at home. They haven't been to Omaha since 2008, and I just think they're due. It's really simple analysis on that. Charlie Condon, they've got the lineup. What I've always questioned about Georgia is their pitching, which is why if they do get to Omaha, I don't think they go very far. But I think they pull this one out, and what a story that would be as well. Because secondarily to Kentucky, which steals the prize by getting their first trip, Georgia has been another program that's hit on hard times. They've gone through a couple of coaches now, but I think they get there today.
Yep. Mike, appreciate your time, my friend. We'll talk to you
Enjoyed it,
next
guys.
week.
Thank
That's
you.
Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Comfort Temp Heating and Air is looking for enthusiastic, motivated comfort specialists to join their team. $1,000 sign-on bonus after 90 days. Awesome benefits and the opportunity to grow with a winning team. Apply today at comforttemp.com. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Again, congratulations to Parker Valby, men's track, and to Sully and Gator baseball. Have a great day, folks. Take care.